All right, everybody, welcome into the Couch Potato Sports Show and the pregame show of your Sachse Mustangs as they're taking on the Wylie East Raiders. And this is homecoming. It's kind of a big deal for the kids as it's homecoming and the homecoming dance and all the festivities that will be happening over the next couple of days, whether it's the game, then the dance and all the things that you'll see around town in Sachse regarding the homecoming. So it's kind of an exciting day for everybody involved, but the homecoming game, all important in reality as far as where everybody is how they feel about their team, how they feel about their school. It's kind of an exciting time. I at least as far as I remember back in the early 80s. Anyway, welcome into the show and the pregame show, and a big opportunity also this week as the Sachse Mustangs, they're looking to build on what they did last week as they got the victory against their rivals, of course, that being the Rowlett Eagles, and that's one of the big steps that the Sachse Mustangs need to take. They got that first game and they got that done and they got to get that out of the way. And now they got to start building, and whether or not they'll be able to start building will be a big question because this is the Wylie East Raiders. And this is a team that is undefeated coming into this game, not just in district, but just undefeated. But before we get to that, I want to recap a little bit what happened in the game as far as the Sachse Mustangs as they took on the Rowlett Eagles. And it was a game of the fourth quarter in reality because it started off really good. In the first frame, they knotted up at 7, but the Rowlett Eagles took the lead and went into halftime with the lead by 7 as they were up 21-14. So huge things there, but they got that 7 points back in the third quarter as they outscored the Rowlett Eagles 14-6 in the third quarter. But it was about the fourth quarter. The fourth quarter told the tale of this game as far as numbers are concerned in the box score. Okay, as the Sachse Mustangs got the higher number, 20-14, which gave them the victory 41-27. But we've seen a lot in this game. And really, if you think about it, it was about turnovers in reality. The Sachse Mustangs did not turn the ball over on Friday night. And that right there is a huge thing for this Sachse Mustang team going into this game because of the confidence. No turnovers, whether it be a fumble, interception, or whatever the case may be. That was huge. Rowlett had 2, and that is really what ended up costing them the game in reality. Because really, when you looked at the numbers, they were kind of close in everything. Whether it was first downs, as Rowlett had 21, Sachse only had 18. The yards was a little bit different, though. Sachse Mustangs had 487 total yards. Rowlett had 423. Passing yards, really right there as well, as Sachse had 230 yards and Rowlett had 220 yards. So looking at those numbers and the percentages as well, that was huge in the game. So I really liked what ended up happening. But when you looked at the numbers, the big difference in this game as far as everything that went on there was those 0 turnovers, a huge portion of the game. As far as rushing in the game, the Sachse Mustang outrushed the Rowlett Eagles by 50 yards, or actually 54 yards, 257-203. And penalties, though, was a factor for the Sachse Mustangs. The Sachse Mustangs really have got to get control over the Yellow Hankies out on the football field. They were flagged 11 times for 110 yards compared to the Rowlett Eagles 7 flags for 45 yards. So that right there, when you're just looking at the numbers, you know the discipline has got to get a little bit better as they move on into the season, because they had a lot of flags last week as well. I think 10 or even over 10 last week as well. So penalties are one of the things that they've really got to get under control as they go in there. But what we saw of Brendan George slowly getting better, slowly putting himself in the position. How about 13 of 17, 230 yards. And 3 touchdowns, and again, the 0 interceptions. He completed 76% of his passes. So, very good day for him. And what can you say about Akana? 20 rushes, 160 yards, 3 touchdowns. All right, averaging about 8 yards per carry, and some of them were really big in this game. Grayson King also came in on a running situation. He ran the ball 8 times for 66 yards. And then Brendan George, a couple of rushes for him, 6 rushes, 25 yards, but he also got a touchdown. And Reeves with 1 rush and 6 yards. And we got to see what his status is going into the game this week, going at the homecoming game against Wylie East. Receiving, we've seen the emergence of a couple of players this game, and then we got a Cortland Scott doing what he did. 7 receptions, 176 yards, and 3 touchdowns, averaging 25 yards a catch. Those are big numbers down the field for the Sachse Mustangs, and who knows what they'll end up needing to get as far as that game is concerned on Friday night against Wylie East. So good numbers here. There were a lot of things that were out there. Penalties was a number of things, fumbles and bad snaps and things like that. Those are some of the things that Sachse are going to have to clean up when they get into that game. So interestingly enough, good game though. You got to get that victory. You got to get out of the gate. And that first victory going up and getting it against the rivals was incredible. Now, let's take a look at the standings that are going on in the Garland ISD as far as the 9-6A. Garland is on top based upon their district record. They're 2-0 going into this week. Wylie is 1-0, so they're right behind them, 1 game behind them, and Wylie is 1-0. So, but Garland overall, they're 3-1 out on the season. Wylie East is undefeated coming into this game at 3-0 as well. Wylie is 2-1, and then in the district portion of it, after the Garland, Wylie East, and Wylie, is the Lakeview Centennial Patriots. They're 1-1 on the season, 2-2 are in district, 2-2 for the whole season. And then North Garland, they're also 1-1. They're 2-2 for the whole season. And then Naaman Forest 1-1. They're 1-3 on the season. And the Sachse Mustangs 1-1 within district, and they're 1-3. Again, they got their first victory. South Garland is 0-2 within district. They're 1-3 overall. And Rowlett, unfortunately for them, 0-4. One of those 2 teams, whether it was Sachse or Rowlett, was going to come out and be 0-4 and 0-2 within the district. This time it was the Rowlett Eagles. So that is the standings of what you're looking at in the Garland ISD, the 9-6A. So we were going to look at a lot of other things here in the pregame show. So let's do that. We're going to take a quick break here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. We're going to take a look at some of the numbers for Wylie East and the numbers for the Sachse Mustangs overall all season. We'll take the quick break here on the Couch Potato Sports Show and your Sachse Mustangs radio network. We'll be right back. General Contracting Incorporated, we're your one-stop shop for all your general contracting needs. We are locally owned and with over 20 years of experience, so roofing, gutters, sidings, fence staining, painting, foundation problems, or roof damage are no problems at all. Give us a call at 214-200-5588. That's 214-200-5588. Wesson General Contractors. The prospect of retirement can be exciting and scary at the same time. At Nest Egg Wealth Advisors, we have found many people either approaching or currently in retirement failed to truly maximize some of the benefits offered to them, primarily Social Security. What is it? How does it work? It's simply not a benefit that you start receiving at age 62. Because these decisions are so important, my firm has assembled an informational packet on Social Security. If you would like a complimentary copy of Social Security Maximization, please give our office a call today at 972-412-6064 or visit us on the web at nesteggadvice.com. At the Jerry Bullet Training Center, we are a motivated team of coaches with the mindset of helping you achieve and reach your highest goals. Having developed and trained over 100 Division I athletes as well as Division II athletes, even professional athletes, the Bullet team definitely has the knowledge and mindset to take you to the next level. Check out our new 22,000 square foot facility and 3,000 square foot weight room, along with 4,500 square feet of outdoor turf and covered training area, along with football and soccer fields. Contact Melvin Bullitt at 214-326-7853 or visit their facility just outside of Waterview at 8900 Princeton Road in Rowlett.
Being taken for a ride? Check out Casso Insurance, serving Texans since 1981. Bundle your home, auto, or business insurance and save a ton. Casso Insurance on the corner of Main Street and Rowlett Road, where we make insurance fun. Or check us out on the web at CassoInsurance.com, where we always have the coffee pot on. Yeah, but is it fresh?
Into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio. And a little bit later on, we're going to bring in the eagle-eyed Bill Serna as he's going to take a look at what he sees here as the Sachse Mustangs are going to have to take on the Wylie East Raiders. So we're going to bring him on in the next segment. But let's talk a little bit about Wylie East and where they are. They are 3-0 out on the season as they got the victory against Richardson Berkner 27-0, and then they got the victory 37-14 against Grand Prairie, and then they rounded it up there and ran into district and got the victory over the Naaman Forest Rangers 36-22. So when you were looking at where they are and what they have, the Sachse Mustangs this week. Next week, they have Garland, and then the week after that, they have South Garland. So that's a little bit of the schedule of what you're going to see as far as the Wylie East Raiders are concerned. Now, let's take a look at what they're going to bring to the table in this one as far as the numbers and the stats. Let's start with the passing game as they have Jaden Hubbard right now. He's 32 of 55. He's thrown for 480 yards and 7 touchdowns. They've had a couple of fillers in there. Fuller, 4-7. He's thrown for 51 yards. Not a lot there as far as that is concerned, but this team is kind of one of those balanced teams because when you look at the rushing game, Tristan Lee, he's got 39 rushes, 241 yards. He's got 2 touchdowns, averaging 6.18 yards per carry. Then you have Terrell Washington as he is 22 attempts rushing the ball and 207 yards. He's got 3 touchdowns. He's averaging, nearly 9.5 yards a clip. So they're getting a lot of production from Washington. Then Maddox Fuller, 3 rushes, 14 yards. And then Jaden Hubbard also at the quarterback position, 10 rushes, doesn't have any positive yards. So the rushing, he has not been able to be successful. In the receiving, Terrell Washington, receiving receptions, 14 catches, 231 yards and 4 touchdowns. Looking at Kason Adams, he's got 11 catches for 198 yards, and he's got a touchdown. It's averaging 18 yards a catch. Alex Ainsworth, 7 catches, 79 yards, and 1 touchdown, averaging just a little over 11 yards. Then you have Sawyer Atabelli. You say that 3 times a lot. As you see, there was an edit there. 1 reception, 24 yards. Then there's a bunch of folks there with 1 catches out there. Fuller, Maddox Fuller, and then Merrick Fuller, Tristan Lee, then Akue, as well as Pye. So all those guys with 1 reception, averaging around 10 to 15 yards for each catch. So that's what you're getting with Wylie East as far as the numbers are concerned heading into this game against the Sachse Mustangs. Now, the Sachse Mustangs, their situation a little bit different again as they took the losses, the first 3 losses of the season, 2 out of district. Capel, they lost that game 56-27, then Prosper 51-24, and then in a nail biter in overtime, they lost to the Lakeview Centennial Patriots 34-28 before they got their victory against Rowlett 48-21. But what do those numbers mean, and what are the numbers in reality as you take a look at the Sachse Mustangs going into this all-important homecoming game? So let's take a look at that as far as the passing game is concerned. Start with Brendan George as he's taken over the quarterback duties as of right now. He's 25 of 47. He's thrown for 369 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But the 0 interceptions last week, that's a big-time work for him. He's completing 53% of his passes. Gutierrez, he's 4 of 10 for 97 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. Grayson King, 6 of 24 for 68 yards. He's got 3 interceptions, though, and 0 touchdowns. So those interception to touchdown ratios are big right now as far as the Sachse Mustangs are concerned in the passing game. Now, when you go to the rushing game, listen, a guy that is averaging over 11.5 yards a clip, that be Popakana. 45 rushes, 525 yards for 6 touchdowns. R.C. Reeves, 45 rushes, 232 yards. He's averaging just over 5 yards a carry, as well as 4 touchdowns. Grayson King's 21 rushes for 86 yards. He's got a touchdown. Brendan George, 19 rushes for 70 yards. He's got a touchdown as well. And then a couple of guys that didn't run a lot, but Harris with 4 rushes, 28 yards, 2 rushes and 12 yards for Brendan Haygood. Norberg, who's handling a lot of the kicking return duties, he's got a rush there for a yard as well. The receiving side of it, Cortland Stott stepping up big time now, and this really stepped up last week. 14 catches, 238 yards, averaging 17 yards of receptions. He's got 3 touchdowns. Lockett with 8 catches, 121 yards. He's got a touchdown, averaging just over 15 yards. Austin Phillip, 4 catches, 4 catches, 58 yards, just over 14.5 yards per catch. 5 catches, 54 yards for Creel. 2 catches, 52 yards, and a touchdown for Rothreck. And then Claiborne, 1 catch, 9 yards, and Reeves, 1 catch for 2 yards. So that's what the numbers right now are looking at for the Sachse Mustangs. So the question will be, will they be able to step up at the homecoming game, going up against a pretty good team that is the Wylie East Raiders? So what we're going to do now, we took a look at the numbers. Now we're going to put them together. We're going to bring in the guy that sees a lot of things that I don't see, as you could tell from the call last week, the Eagle Eye Bill Serna. We'll do that when we come back here on the Couch Potato Sports Show and the Sachse Mustangs Radio Network.
There is nothing that beats good home-cooked barbecue. Since 1941, Dickey's Barbecue has done all the cooking and you take all the credit. Come see us today at our Rowlett location, 5701 President George Bush Turnpike, Suite 110 in the Target Shopping Center. Whether you want to eat in or take it home, we will fix you up. For lip-smacking, rib-tickling, knee-slapping, foot-stomping, great-tasting barbecue, come see us at Dickey's Barbecue today.
Here at Fit Body Boot Camp, located in Sachse, the solution is here. Fast, long-lasting weight loss results and the healthy lifestyle you need to keep them. The key to your fat loss success is our signature afterburn workouts, as well as support and motivation from our world-class coaches, and an easy-to-follow nutrition program to help you keep the fat off. Visit your local Fit Body Boot Camp in Sachse today to see the difference for yourself, or give us a call at 214-463-3005. That's 214-463-3005. Fit Body Boot Camp, Sachse. Sachse Ice House is a non-smoking craft beer and beer pub located in the heart of Sachse. The Ice House was opened to provide a friendly, clean, and female-friendly environment. Sachse was lacking a place for service industry, date nights, and girls' nights, as well as happy hours. Excellent service and top-notch food are our priority. On Tuesday, we offer 79-cent wings, as well as half-price burgers on Mondays. So check us out at the Ice House, located at 6501 Highway 78 in Sachse, or give us a call at 469-304-1550, or check us out on the web at SachseIcehouse.com. Go Mustangs! Ever want to know why Bill and I look so great on our broadcast? Check out K West Designs on Facebook to find out why. Check out all the samples that Kelly has up so you can see, especially if you have a special occasion that needs something original or design, or something that says, this is our moment. Check out K West Designs on Facebook, or give Kelly a call at 469-601-5856. That's 469-601-5856. K West Designs. Rich's Performance Muffler and Auto Care has provided complete auto repair services to the Wylie area since 2003. Whether it's alignments, brakes, air conditioning, muffler service, suspension, front-end auto services, or in my case, a Cadillac converter, Rich does it all. Stop by and see him at 603 Commerce Street, Suite 203 in Wylie, or give him a call at 972-461-0776. That's 972-461-0776. You'll be happy you called Rich instead of anybody else. And welcome back into the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio. And look who we got back. It's the Eagle Eye, Bill Serna. And boy, I am glad to have you back. How you doing, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? It's glad to be back. I took a little extra vacation last week, listened to the game on the radio. So, I didn't get to see it, but you make sure and make it visible to all of us.
A little R&R, man. That's back in Arizona. I'm looking to do that. I'm going to buy my ticket actually tomorrow. So I'm going to be making, but it'll be after the season. But we're all set and ready to rock and roll. And last week you had the opportunity to listen to the game and everything. You kind of visualize what was going on and everything, which sometimes I'm good at, sometimes I'm not. But that being said, what was your impression finally to get the victory and also from the rival, that being the Rowlett Eagles?
Well, and I think the first thing is that the offense started moving. It finally started getting some life in it, other than just focusing on the running game. We saw some more stability on both sides of the passing game and the rushing game. So that was good to see. That really was a big plus for that game. Obviously, it's a lot closer than we wanted to be, and I really think we could have really put a dagger into it earlier. But still to come out and really finally clamp down there on the final drive of the defense was a huge plus.
Well, there were a lot of opportunities to do exactly what you just said, the opportunities to knock it down. But then again, this is still a team right now that's learning who's going to be where and why. And that's one of the things I think Coach is really beginning to being able to recognize and where to put guys in places to have, a lot of success.
Well, and we saw King, Grayson King back in the backfield last week, which was very first for us, so unique. So, right. I think he was trying to tinker with some matchups and plays that he could do to be more successful, and putting a bigger body back there in the backfield, putting a second person that throws in the backfield. Helped him out pretty good, and we're going to actually see that with Wylie East this week, which we'll talk about in a minute, because they have the same idea there on their offense.
Definitely. And I think it might be a little problem as far as injury is concerned regarding R.C. Reeves, because we didn't see him hardly at all, if any, in reality in that game. So a little combination that also with the change of bringing in King at the running play. He had one great big running play. I was shocked, because I was wait a second, that's number 11. So it's nice to be able to throw in there and get things all set and ready to go. Mm-hmm. And the defense also made plays, also held off the Rowlett Eagles from getting first downs. A turnover on down early in the game too as well. So lots of good stuff we're seeing. And, we always say it's starting to come together. And I think that's what we're getting so far right now, at least to this point of the season.
Well, and what you need to do is, first things first, get that first W under your belt. Yep. A lot of things, it's kind of like we talk every game about momentum. Same way with get a winning momentum. You get that first win under your belt, and that can start rolling things. You talked about that defense from last week, and that's kind of been the big one of the biggest issues right now with the Rowlett team is their defense, their scoring defense. They're giving up, over 40 points a game through 4 games, right. And I think the big glaring part of it is the fourth quarter. They've been outscored 63-28. They've really struggled in the fourth quarter. So to see that they were able to buckle down on that last drive from Rowlett and stuff, hopefully they can move forward with that, and that'll be something that's going to keep taking them as they go into this week's game.
Yeah, and homecoming, obviously a big day for the kids, a big day for, you always want to win that homecoming game. The only dance I ever really went to was a homecoming dance, and went to the game and then went to the dance the next night. So it's festivities that's all about. But we got a pretty good opponent, right? Rolling right into that in reality. As you take a look at Wylie East, they're actually 3-0 out on the season. They're 1-0. They had the bye last week, so they're 1-0 within district, sitting in second place. So we kind of know what's going to be coming, but then again, you also don't know what's going to be coming because of the different type of competition that Wylie East did play compared to the Sachse Mustangs as well. That's still in play right now.
Well, and Sachse, they played some very physical teams so far, yes. Especially when it came to Capel and Prosper, and we got banged up pretty good. Yep. Wylie East, nothing on their competition. Wylie East, first of all, you're right. They got the first bye of the district for the season, so they've only played 3 games. So they haven't had as much pounding as Sachse has had. So they're going to come in a little bit fresher. One thing that we have is we've played against strong competition, which, obviously Wylie East is a strong competitor. That could be at Sachse's advantage.
Absolutely, and when you put it all together, you know what you're actually going to get. Kind of a little bit. I was looking at the numbers and everything that is coming the way from Wylie East, and as far as the offensive side, because obviously that's the only thing that we're really kind of privy to. But you take a look at what they did in the first game. Wylie East got a victory over Berkner, 27-0, then 37-14, the Grand Prairie, and then the 36-22 within district, which I think that's huge as well. Within district against the Neiman Forest Rangers, they go in, they already start off and get that first victory there. But when I was looking at the numbers and I was looking at the quarterback, this is a very well-balanced offense in reality between running and passing, and really it's more running in reality.
Well, and they have two guys that really take the lead with that running attack, and that's Tristan Lee and Terrell Washington Jr. But I mentioned a little bit ago when I was talking about Grayson King, Terrell Washington Jr., he is that threat with his arm and with his legs, because he can throw the ball just as much as he can run the ball. So he's a dual threat. They like to run the Wildcat with him. He's a tough guy. He's your leading receiver. He's your second leading rusher, and throws the ball. He is that dual threat.
And sometimes that's always hard, not easy to figure out what you're going to get from week in and week out. I think it's going to start off fairly simple, and then we'll see some changes within the game. But like you said, Tristan Lee, 37 rushes, 250 yards and 2 touchdowns. Terrell Washington Jr., 23 rushes, 212 yards and 3 touchdowns. So 5 rushing touchdowns, 7 passing touchdowns for Hubbard for him. He's 32-55 for 480 yards. But another key number, though, in that stat line is 0 interceptions. So a lot of things that are being placed in for him not to make mistakes as well.
Well, and one thing with Jaden Hubbard in the backfield, he hasn't been the type that's been really aggressive to throw those risky routes and whatnot. There's a lot of underneath. When you have a couple guys like Terrell Washington and Kason Atkins, where you get them the ball, and it could be a short hitch, it could be a post, and let them do their work. Both of those receivers, Washington and Atkins, they're both averaging over 16 yards a catch. 16 yards, that's crazy.
Those are crazy numbers,
But then on the flip side of it, you look at the rushing between Tristan Lee and Washington combined, they're averaging almost 8 yards of carry. So what that tells me right there is you have a really good offensive line that makes those holes, gives that protection to Hubbard, and makes it difficult on the defenses.
And here's the thing. If you stop too much of the run, they're very qualified to come back and get you in the pass. So it's a darned if you do, darned if you don't. You're just going to have to set the pace at the beginning of the game and see which way it can end up going, especially defensively for the Sachse Mustangs. And I don't know about you. Before you left, the game that you called with me the week before, and then this past week, as far as the defensive side, I'm going to tell you right now, we're getting a lot of Heiser being called. Heiser is a guy that's making his way around. He plays the offensive line and defense, but he seems to be obviously making more plays on the defensive side of the ball, making very vital tackles at very vital times.
No, absolutely. He's a two-way player, which especially in these big schools, you don't see that as much. Mm-hmm. So, if he's such an asset on the defensive side, you've got to keep him there. You really do. But one last point on those receivers for Sachse is through 3 games they've thrown completions of 9 different receivers in 3 games. So they get the ball around, they pass it around. Like I said, you got an offensive line that gives Hubbard the time to throw the ball. He's going to find open receivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and you meant Wylie East, the Raiders, not Sachse, but I knew exactly what you were saying. But back just really quick, I mean, some guys that defensively that are standing out. Lots of names we're calling. Of course, we just talked about Major Heiser on number 50, also number 12. When you look at Jalen Jimenez, he's making plays all over the field too, which is kind of interesting because he kind of starts off on the right side or left side, and then you see him making tackles on the right-hand side. It's just amazing.
Well, we've played a lot of teams that like to run the ball. Prosper was the first that really threw the ball a lot, but they also took what we gave them. So you've got these teams that like to run the ball. So it's going to keep your front line busy. The object is to keep that front line busy and avoid having your secondary and your second line having to make a lot of those tackles.
We look at what's going on with Sachse. It looks like they got their quarterback, as far as where it's going to go. I'm sure we're going to see George starting for this football team. He had a fairly good game against the Rowlett Eagles. He's slowly beginning to put it together, getting the ball in the air for touchdowns as well. So it's good to see Brendan George take that step and try to make this team his and move forward for the rest of the season. But you always still do have the guys behind them that can step in when they need to, or if they would just want to throw a curveball at somebody.
Well, and that's just it. George really got his first look against Lakeview Centennial. That's when he really got a lot of playing time. He got comfortable in that role. I'm sorry, he played against Prosper.
Prosper, yeah.
So he kind of came in and out during Prosper. Lakeview Centennial is where he really started feeling comfortable, and you saw more out of the offense at that time. I think as week goes by, I think you're going to see him get more and more confidence, and especially after you come out of a big win like you did with the Rowlett, not only a huge rival, but just being able to put up the numbers that he has and not rely on Akana on your running game and know that you have that force on the receiving side as well.
Well, they kind of doing what he's doing, 525 yards on the ground, averaging close to 12 yards a clip. I'm telling you right now, you just don't get that in high school football. So when you got it, you keep on digging it, and 6 touchdowns out on the football field. But looking right now, as far as rushing is concerned, 12 rushes for 12 rushing touchdowns for the Sachse Mustangs is something that they really need to keep up. And as well as don't get away from it, make sure everybody's aware that you can do that at any time and still get, close to 12 yards a rush. It's crazy.
Well, and that's the big point. Don't get away from it. If something's working, you got to keep doing it, especially late in the game when you really need it at the biggest part. But you're right. You're talking about Akana, 500 yards, over 500 yards. You got to remember that's only 3 games. He missed one game, so he's averaging about 160, 170 yards a game.
Crazy.
So, it is. What we don't want to do is we don't have to rely on him as our only source of offense. So to get that receiving core going is what's been a big plus to see, and I think that's what's going to help our Rowlett offense.
I think it is. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be tomorrow night, 7 p.m., as the Sachse Mustangs is going to be taking on the Wylie East Raiders. Almost did it again. Pirate. I got that Pirate thing coming really close, but it's the first time we've seen this team within the 9A or 9-6A. The first time that the whole Garland ISD is going to get an opportunity to play that football team.
Yeah, well, and that's just it. Most of these teams haven't played Wylie East before. And, many years ago, I was a huge Wylie fan. I used to follow the Pirates all the way to their championship back in, I think it was 2008 when they got to the championship game down in Houston. So I was a huge Wylie fan. So I'm probably going to make that mistake a few times tomorrow night. But but like I said, Wylie East, ever since they've been in existence, they've always had a great program. They had a great running back in Enos Benjamin a few years ago.
I remember that guy. I do.
Yeah.
He made some big. He made a lot of noise, and people were talking about him.
Yeah, he ended up going to Arizona State and having a great career there, and now he's with the Arizona Cardinals, and he's in a backup role, but he contributes every game. So they have some good ball players coming out of Wylie East, so they're going to be good. I think it's going to be Sachse's plan to keep the tempo of the ball game in their control, and one thing you got to really do is you got to cut down those penalties. Right now.
That's something they definitely got to get underneath control. 11 penalties for 110 yards last week. That's something they got to definitely get away from. So watch out for that.
Yeah, right now through 4 games, they're averaging 9.5 penalties a game. That's way too much.
Way too much.
Averaging 84 yards a game. So you definitely got to get, and it's only seemed like it's increased every week. They had 6 the first game, 7 the second game. Then during that overtime game, they had 14. But with that being said, you also look at Lakeview Centennial. They had 15. So there's 29 penalties thrown in that game. So sometimes you look at that and say, okay, well, officials might have been a little bit happy with the Yellow Hankies, but then you see it next day, we get double digits, or next week, and we get double digits and penalties too. Then you start looking and say, okay, there's some discipline problems we've got to work on.
Definitely. And that's something Coach made mention of in reality when we had the pregame show last week. And as we brought him in, as he talked about the football team, he will be on next week as well here in the pregame show. We'll talk that, and we'll bring him also into the halftime show and let people get the opportunity to hear from Coach when every other week here on the pregame show and on the halftime show. And also out to Jonathan Zambrano, friend of mine that's in there. His daughter's cheerleader for the Wylie East Raiders. So he says it's too bad. He sent me a message. It's too bad we're going to ruin your homecoming. And I was like, oh, come on now, geez, Louise. So we'll find out what ends up happening. This one's going to be a good one. I think it's going to be as good as the Rowlett game. It's going to be close, and it could come down to whoever is going to end up with the ball last in this one as well.
Yeah, well, and I think Sachse really has taken that win from last week, and I think that's something to grow on.
Yes.
And now they got that feeling of victory under their belt, especially for these new kids that are the first time on varsity that are playing. So now they know what it feels like. It took 4 games, but now it's there. So I think that's something that they're going to move forward with.
It's going to be a good one. It happens at Homer B. Johnson Stadium tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Make sure you check it out. Or if you're watching this right before we go in, we're going to get ready to go into the first quarter. Thank Bill Serna, that Eagle Eye, for joining us here on the pregame show. For everybody involved, we will catch you tomorrow. This one's going to be a good one. Don't miss it. We're out of here, everybody. Take care. Bye-bye.